Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another episode of Camcast or Dappercast. Y'all can let me know whichever you prefer, actually. I like both, so I just say both. But here's your host, Cam. Today, thank you all, of course, first and foremost, thank you all again for tuning into another episode. Today, we are going to be discussing what I like to call as a topic of release. Think about what pops into your head as soon as you hear that word. It's a lot. Anyway, today we are going to be talking about really more so the releasing of our emotions. This isn't basically something that, I gotta talk about my feelings, this and that. Not necessarily so much that. I mean, like I said, some people find it more difficult than others to do so, which is completely understandable. It's really about, where you can come from. When I say where you can come from, based off where your mind might be at, as far as speaking about whether it be your life experiences, things of that nature. And today, I honestly do just think that I need to get into it, because one thing I can tell you is that there are detrimental effects that can occur when these actions are not done. And I know many people are unaware of that. So today, I'm going to make you aware, or as many people as I can aware. So once again, thanks for tuning in. We're going to get right into it. So I often get a lot of questions, pretty much, about whenever I'm explaining to people how I might have talked about a certain topic or this or that, and they're saying, man, I've always, admired how you're able to open up about, certain issues and certain feelings about certain things that I've never even considered doing. And they just want to know, well, how do you do it? Like, what's it feel like whenever you do open up or interact or spill out about, everything that's going on? And I'm just saying, well, sometimes you get that feeling that it's like you could be playing a video game or something against an opponent, whether it's the computer or a friend or somebody online, and it might be some type of championship, some very important matchup to both of y'all. And at the end of the game, if you win, think about how that's going to make you feel, because you worked hard, right? It's something that you finally got off your chest. You won. You had a lot of emotions put into it. It's the same thing. I mean, nothing that's worth it in life is going to come easy. That's why it's worth it. I think I spoke about this on another episode. It's just that's why it's worth it. It's just plain and simple. If it's going to be, if you're going to work for it, it should feel worth it at least. But of course, like I said, make sure you're working towards the right thing. And, depending on whoever you are, that right thing is completely up to you, honestly. So, but without further ado, I just simply tell them, just get it off your chest, just talk. Like, somebody wants to know, like, what's on your mind. I see a lot of people just saying, like, just shake your head and keep it moving. And honestly, the people that might even deal with you later on because of that, you might even make them more upset just because you don't want to talk about it. Now, I know you're probably thinking, well, it's my business. I don't want nobody to know. That's cool and all, but there's something called emotional intelligence. You see, if you're not completely aware and you can't distribute your professional or your dealings with that person simply because you can't separate those feelings from your emotional feelings. They're gonna interact. They're gonna collide with each other, and you're gonna end up taking them out on that person. Now you tell me, unless that's the person that you're upset with, do they deserve that? I had a conversation with someone about that, and they didn't really have nothing to say about it at first, which was expected. I wasn't really expecting a response until later on. They told me thank you for that. It's like I said, it's not simple, but it's worth it. So, I mean, we're going to start off by talking about emptying your mental trash can. A pileup is never beneficial. I mean, we've all seen maybe piled ups of car accidents on the road or at a sanitation site. You know, a pileup is just, it's never beneficial. You know, you have to empty that. I mean, you know, if you got your trash out front in the yard, it's just sitting there. Nobody's ever coming to get it. You know, it's sitting there for days, weeks. I would say months, but I don't really know with my listeners. I don't really know how common that may be to you. That's a bit bizarre, but anything's possible. So it could be months. What does it do? Starts attracting bad things, right? Pests, rodents, unwanted pests, things of that nature. I mean, it might even have a chemical reaction itself over time, you know, with weathering occurring on it and things like that. So, I mean, eventually you're going to want to get it taken. Well, if you want them to take your trash, you got to take your own trash out too, right? So, in a sense, basically what I'm saying is, and you know, go ahead and empty your mind. Like, you got something on your mind, find a way to take it out. And that doesn't necessarily mean, I'm not talking about, like, you know, in any ways that might harm somebody else, but I mean, go ahead, you know, help you and them out, or let them help you. Well, you know how they say, you know, help me help you, let them help you, in a sense. You know, I've spoken about, you know, not being afraid to face the fear of your emotions. That is pretty common. And sometimes your emotions can be a very complex book, or, you know, just piece of writing on the paper that you just do not want to read or open up, or you have no idea what's going on in there. And basically it can be scary. It can be. I can understand that. It can be. But thing about it is what's more hurtful? Opening it and getting it over with, or just dealing with it and leaving it closed forever? Because in that sense, it never goes away. You can look at it in that sense, you know? I mean, you know, emotions linger around and they affect us a lot more than what we realize, which is why I figured this topic was basically as important as it is. I thought it was very vital to speak on, honestly. I mean, at least in my opinion, too. Well, of course, dealing with a person such as myself who might have even been a victim a few times of this topic. You know, people even told me to continue to do this simply because of times that I might have been losing it on others. And that's exactly what I did. So I said, okay, great. I mean, so this is working? Nice. Well, then I'll continue to do it, because at the end of the day, it feels just like taking a shower, honestly. Like, after a long day of maybe working outside in the yard or whatever. Been sweating, you know, clothes wet, this and that. Like, take a shower, you know? I mean, you could look at it as that too. Like, basically cleanse yourself of the negative emotions that you might have piled up. It's going to feel that much better. I mean, when does it ever feel bad to feel clean? ... Thing about emotions and the existence that comes along with the clearing of emotions happens to also be costs. You know, I mean, some of you may say, well, I don't feel I have anybody around to really talk to about what it is I may be going through. And, to really talk about it is painful to even think about, where the emotions might have come from, this and that. Where's the thing? You're referring to basically expenses, costs, what it means, what you have to give up in order to get what you want. Well, I mean, let me put it like this. Back when I was younger, I can't remember what grade it was, but even in my classroom, my teacher would have us sit around in a circle or whatever, or some type of array in the classroom. And we would have an object, whatever it might be, and we would pass it around to each other. Some of us would even toss it to our friends if we wanted to. That option was on the table. And simply what we would do was we would talk about, what would make us angry, what would make us sad, upset, happy, all these different things. And, of course, most of us, we thought this was what is this accomplishing? Well, honestly, what it was really accomplishing was, how they say, start them early. They was basically teaching, saying, well, this is a very important skill to learn in life. Some of these skills you may not always hear, all throughout, in life to do certain things. But at the end of the day, who's responsible for your existence? Who's responsible for your actions? And who's responsible for your well-being? It's you. So, we could turn expenses into excuses, but hey, at the end of the day, who has to pay for those? Other people might be on the receiving end, but who does it hurt? Think about that. So, yeah, we would talk about stuff like that, and it just would all make us feel better to really just sit around and just talk about how, this situation, the last time I was in this predicament or something like this, or somebody might have did this to me, or, a relationship, this and that, whatever, up to that point in our lives, at least, we would say, this was a recent example of when I might have felt this emotion. This is a recent example or some type of example in my life that might have led to this emotion within me. And you identify with that and you accept that. You become one with that. And now you can cleanse that. It's just like cleaning up the kitchen. If you don't ever clean it, though, what's going to happen? Dirt, trash, all that's just going to pile up everywhere, right? Especially after a long time. So it was a good thing that we, got that lesson early. And of course, like I said, not everybody gets that lesson early. It's understood, but at the end of the day, you have a life to live. So you also have choices to make. To me personally, whenever I think that I've been able to accomplish and get through a lot of hardships that I might have faced along, the road up to this point within my life, basically just being able to do that, you know what I mean? It's not really something I play about, I take it pretty seriously. Some people think it's funny, this and that. That's cool, Everybody got their own sense of humor. But at the end of the day, the very people that think it's funny could be the same ones suffering, And I'm not really trying to call nobody out or anything like that, but, that's just how it is. We never really know how serious something is until we're affected by it. So, with that being said, I made it through a lot of situations simply by being able to speak about, what things, what events, or what actions, experiences, exposures, those type of things, events, actions of others, how it affected me. And it helped, honestly. Like, they say I'm able to clear my mind. I have multiple methods. And if anybody, as a matter of fact, I can give you some methods, you don't necessarily even have to, if you're trying to, talk to somebody and this and that, like some of the methods I might use, I may not even use myself. Like, if it's, too embarrassing, or, you're afraid of how you're going to be perceived, or this and that, you feel like, your rep might diminish. It might, lessen just because you decided to speak about a sensitive topic, then, use something else. It doesn't necessarily have to be you. It could be an object, a friend, family member, make up a name. You know what I mean? Like, stuff like that. Get a person's opinion. And on top of this, look at it like this. If that opinion is nothing but laughter and just humiliation, well, at the end of the day, guess who really won that? At least somebody was able to be mature about it, right? So, and if they're just not the person, that's okay. Like I said, pick your head up. That don't necessarily mean nothing bad on you. Hey, reward yourself. Give yourself a high five. Because guess what? You tried. And that's important. That's the first step to take. The first step is always the hardest to make. So, you got to begin the process. You got to open that door. Instead of just standing across the street just looking at it, just in fear. So, teachers used to always say that the first step is to enter the classroom. And a second thought, if that does happen to you, and you may experience like some humiliation or whatever, could be admiration, honestly, for the fact that you was actually able to do that. They just can't take it seriously because they're so unused to it. I've been there before, and I've heard that, and I said, okay, well, it's cool. Thank you for telling me that. You must have really kind of felt uncomfortable if you actually had to mention that to me. You know what I mean? But I was like, all right, bet, I'll take that. Like, it's all good because either way, I still got it off my chest no matter what, So, either you were that special person or that special opportunity for me or not, I was going to get done what I had to get done, and that's the same way you should feel. Either way, you still got it done. So, don't let obstacles, stand in your way of basically getting this done or just getting tasks done in life, And I'm not going to say that toughened the person up, but, they began to look at things a little differently after I said that. So, not everybody is equipped or built to take certain stuff, and that's okay. It's not their fault half the time. They can do something about it, but that's their choice to make, not yours. And if that's just what it be, then that's just what it be, They can take after you trying to do something good, and they can say, okay, you know what? Like, hey, they were strong enough to do and execute that task, and I want to do that. Or they could look at it another way. But either way, guess who still comes out victorious? It's you. Sometimes not emptying your mental trash can could build up stress. Stress can be a major factor in the cause of disease and an unfortunate short lifespan. This is why I say don't get too caught up on cost of existence. Everybody normally, well, I'm not even going to say everybody, but most people that I'm aware of are interested in living as long as they can live, including I. Sometimes that's what you have to do. You got to take it, it's a part of your health. I mean, and can't nobody do that but you. So, I mean, and sometimes you can even talk to yourself if you want to, depending on how comfortable you are with that. But I mean, write a journal, all those type of things, And I've been in a lot of situations where some people honestly have accused me personally of taking out my emotions on them, when truth was, well, it's funny. I might have taken out my emotions on you, mainly probably because you're the one that caused them in the first place. But we're not going to talk about that. Well, technically, I do want to talk about that, but you want to jump over it. So it's like, well, I mean, okay. That just tells me you probably already know that. You just don't want to admit it, and that's still a trophy on my end. So either way, what's done in the dark is going to find a way to shine. So, but yeah, that's releasing everybody. Make sure you release. Take time for yourself to release, and don't let anybody make you feel bad for doing that, because it's very powerful. And sometimes those that might even make you feel bad for that, they're aware of the power, or they're afraid of the power that comes with the person being able to do that and being capable of doing that, especially if they're incapable of doing such things. So keep that in mind whenever you're engaging in this. Help yourself. Treat yourself. Like I said at the end, reward yourself. Go get yourself something nice. Something nice to eat, something nice to wear, anything like that. I mean, you did it. They talk about how a lot of people speak about how they want people to give back and things like that. Well, technically, anybody can give back, in a sense, to that community. It doesn't necessarily, you don't really have to have your name on a billboard all over the radio to be able to do that. The smallest differences make the biggest difference. I mean, the smallest details make the biggest differences. Just do some of the small little things. Take a look back after a while and see how different something might look, I mean, you can make an impact too. And this could be a way that you can put into some of your communities. Because sometimes, even by saying, oh, well, I'm not that bad, like whatever, I'm going through whatever I do, it ain't that bad, it ain't this, it ain't that. And, it very well might be. But then again, you might find out that you could be the factor that might be harming things simply because you think that nothing needs to be done. And that happens sometimes, even when we're not even aware of it. That's why it's called emotional intelligence, because there are times where you can be emotionally unaware. But that stuff can come out to hurt other people, So, I mean, just give those things some thoughts, the next time, situations happen. And also don't be afraid to apologize. It's not always a bad thing. It's hard to do, but it's not always a bad thing. It's kind of just like eating healthy in a sense. It may not be very appetizing at first, but eventually, like I said, it's going to help your health live longer and stuff like that. So, I mean, but yeah, y'all keep a lot of these things that I had to say in mind, and just take care of your business. And, I want y'all to help yourselves. And I'm not saying that y'all need help. I'm not saying that at all. It's just, be the best person to yourself. So, well, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and sign off, and appreciate y'all once again, everybody who tuned in. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or anything you might want to chat about, You know how to reach me. So that'll be it for another episode of SimpleCast with your host Cam, and I will see y'all next time. Appreciate it. Have a good one.